the actual red line, defending.
I think it's like
people deluded. I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on.
People deluded, I'm back again. Let's see what news and rumours and all those things concerning Arsenal Football Club are floating online. As some of you lot know, it's finally been confirmed again. He's been training with Arsenal for a few couple of days. David Raya joins on season-long loan. Spanish international goalkeeper David Raya has joined us from Brentford on a season-long loan. The 27-year-old has been an integral part of the Bees team in recent seasons and played in all of their 38 Premier League matches last season. He was born in Barcelona. As you know, he's been in England since 16 years of age. He's had a short-term loan spell at Southport. He's played for Blackburn and he's played for Brentford. He made 108 appearances for Blackburn, and he joins us with a wealth of experience as well as fitting the system that Mikel Arteta demands collectively, much less from his goalkeeper. And it's good news for Ramsdale because it could make you better. It's bad news in that, you know, we're getting a more competitive squad, and obviously only 11 players can play and only 5 can come off the bench. And while there's a lot of games, and as you can see, there's a lot of injuries and loss of form and system changes, which could mean, you know, players get into the team or out of the team. I'm happy for this, really. And it shows that Mikel Arteta is not allowing players to rest on their laurels. And I'm sure David Raya, again, he's been linked with Chelsea. It feels like prior to them signing Sanchez, it felt like there was a position there. He could have signed for Spurs for obvious reasons. You shouldn't sign for Spurs, but Hugo Lloris days are numbered. And obviously their new keeper, the jury's still out. Bayern Munich, Jan Sommer's been sold. There's been a setback where Manuel Neuer has obviously been concerned with his rehab from his long-term injury. At Arsenal, on the face of it, Aaron Ramsdale, obviously, you know, is our number one, signed a new deal, making headwinds in that regard. So I like the fact that Raya believes he can challenge. And I've said it before, at some point, you know, we're going to have to revisit what we went through with Leno and Ramsdale, what we did with Martinez and Leno. And obviously, you know, we've seen it at other clubs as well. How long can you have 2 starting quality goalkeepers? Even the way Brentford spoke about him when he departed the club, really. But it's good news for us. We'll cross that bridge when we get it. For now, there's more competition. Raya has to have been given some encouragement to believe he could be the number one, or if he's going to want to be the number 2, or he's accepting of that, great. And the same logic goes for Ramsdale, because then we have 2 quality goalkeepers, really, and it's difficult to find second choices. But for what it's worth, Edu has said, we welcome David to join us on a season-long loan from Brentford. David is a top-quality goalkeeper who has consistently performed to a higher level with Brentford in the Premier League. With David joining us, we are adding quality and depth to our squad so we can perform at the highest possible level in all competitions. As part of the agreement, there's an option to make the move permanent. He will allegedly wear the number 22 shirt, and everyone at Arsenal welcomes him to the club. The loan deal is subject to completion of certain processes. So, yeah, he signed for the club. Again, some people might ask, why has it gone from a permanent deal to a loan? Is it a loan in all but name? Apparently, Arsenal complete loan deal of David Raya from Brentford. Deal structure, new contract explained. He did sign a new 2-year deal with an option of a 3rd at Brentford prior to leaving. Now, I think he'll be a permanent Arsenal player, but that protects Brentford if something goes left with this deal, if Arsenal change their plans, that they obviously can keep their first choice keeper or sell him. And obviously, Arsenal get to be probably a bit creative with the budget. So big up to Brentford for helping us out in that regards, because they did turn down this sort of proposal from Bayern Munich. As we said, the 27-year-old joins on an initial season-long loan with the option to make the move permanent next summer. There's an initial 3 million loan fee and an activation clause of a further 27 million. Let's just hope Ramsdale isn't injured around the 2 times we play Brentford, because obviously he's on loan. Raya can't play. Don't know who we draw for after that, whether it's Ronderson on paper, Arthur Okonkwo on paper, or Karl Hein. As we know, people, Bayern Munich had explored a similar deal with Brentford, but the player only wanted to join Arsenal, where he'll reignite with the goalkeeping coach Inaki Kanya. Again, we welcome the man to the club, really. Once again, he signed a new 2-year deal at Brentford with the option of a 3rd. So 3-year deal for a 27-year-old quality keeper. That is great stuff, really and truly, for him. We all know Ramsdale was said, bring it on. I'm not going to go over those comments, but Brentford explain Raya contract and deal structure, people. Apparently, Mr. Phil Giles of Brentford said, I'm sure the first question that all Brentford fans will ask is why this transfer has been structured as an initial loan with Arsenal having the option to make it permanent in the future? The answer to that is simply that it enables this deal to be done more rapidly between the clubs, with all parties wanting to make this a permanent transfer as soon as practically possible, whenever that might be, and whatever that means. I'm not sure for Arsenal. Apparently on paper we're due to bring in 100 million to the club or something along those lines, because we're in the Champions League and stuff like that. So maybe it's a thing where we want to factor that into later budgets. David's contract extension is a fullback position in the events that the transfer is not made permanent. I'm not expecting to see David back at Brentford, although if ever that happened, then of course the opportunity to work with such a high-class goalkeeper for up to 2 more years would in many ways be an unexpected bonus for us, which is true, people. We're here for that. So that's why we've got that. Apparently, Manchester City have accepted a bid from Saudi Arabia for Laporte in the aftermath of Timber being injured, who is linked with anyone that has any capabilities of playing that left back, and especially 2 City players in João Cancelo and Laporte. Laporte, at 29 years of age, normally is linked with a move to Spain around this time of year. Stock's kind of fallen because a lot of people have forgotten he's obviously at Manchester City, but considering all he's won for Manchester City and been a part of, the move to Saudi Arabia at 29 years of age to get some real money, I couldn't begrudge him for that. And allegedly, Man City have accepted an offer for Laporte from Saudi Arabia side El Nasser. Laporte is thought to be open to the possibility of a move to the Gulf state. As you know, he struggled for minutes last season and he only made 12 Premier League appearances. Crazy. And he obviously come off the bench against Burnley on Friday, and he has 2 years left on his deal. And he's seen another left-footed centre-half / able to play left back in Gavaldal, I can't pronounce the Croatian's name, forgive me for mispronunciation, arrive at the club, people. And he'll be joining some exciting talents at the team he's going in. They've got Brozovic, Fofana, Telles. Well, I wouldn't quite say Telles, but Ronaldo, Fofana, Brozovic, Mane. That is lit, people. So we'll have to see how that develops. Arsenal allegedly, courtesy of Charles Watts, have open contracts with Martin Odegaard. We have heard this before. Apparently, Arsenal have open talks with star midfielder Martin Odegaard over a new contract, according to Charles Watts. The Norwegian international and Arsenal's captain. Current deal expires in 2025 with the option of a further year, so essentially to 2026, same as Tierney. Arteta wants to give him a new deal, and apparently we're prioritizing both Odegaard and Benjamin White, whose contract is also up in 2025, and that follows the numerous contracts we've obviously given new deals to people: the Salibas, the Martinellis, the Reece Nelsons, the Bukayo Sakas, Ramsdale technically. And feel free to say any names I've missed out. Don't forget to let me know your thoughts and smash the like button. Odegaard deserves a new deal, people, really and truly. Watts has said they really want to keep Martin Odegaard. He was so integral to Mikel Arteta. He's a captain and hugely important to the way Arsenal play. He's a fantastic footballer who showed how good he was last season, and I expect him to take his game up to another level. Arsenal are delighted to have him, and they're really beginning to step forward those talks with his agent to try and get a deal done. He's got 2 years left on his deal. It's 2025 with the option of another year. There's no rush, but they want to reward him for his performances. Fair enough, bring him to the carpet, people. Arteta always talks about that when he talks about new deals, that players need to be rewarded for their performances. I mean, it keeps them happy. It gives them stability over their long-term contract. Obviously, in any other walk of life, if you're doing well, you deserve to be paid more money or paid more handsomely in terms of wages. And, if we believe the Odegaards, the Salibas, the Sakas, all these guys can go to where we believe they can go to, then while we want to see them achieve stuff, but, you've only got one career and it's short. If they ever want to angle to a move to another club or whatever, then we're in a strong position to get money. You look at Saliba, Martinelli, Saka, players of that ilk, potentially even Gabriel. You look at some of the fees floating around in world football. There's no reason why Arsenal, especially with Edu enhancing his reputation of being a better sporting director, while we can't get quote unquote silly money for these players. Real Madrid, 30 million for Martin Odegaard. I don't think they miss him, but I do think they missed a trick with that. Talks have been initiated and they're moving forward. They're now in talks to get it done as quickly as possible, but sometimes these can drag on for a season, but they're definitely talking with his people to try and get it done. These players are so key to what's happening at the club at the moment, and they want to keep their best players, and Odegaard is absolutely their best player. So it's nice to know that we're proactive. He's contracted until 2025, so for another 18 months with the option of an optional another year. So it's nice to see that we've started this early, and if and when it does happen, we get it done, really and truly. They work so hard to keep this group together. We've seen in the last year, Gabriel, Ramsdale, Saka, Martinelli and Saliba all sign contracts, and it's just common sense that Odegaard will need to follow suit. They need to get it done, and that's what they're trying to do. You could also throw Eddie Nketiah and Reece Nelson in to that to some degree. Saliba was a massive one solely because he didn't have that emotional tie to the club like Saka. He wasn't a Haaland boy. He obviously had a difficult start where it looked like Arteta didn't fancy him at all. To get him done, that showed an awful lot because he didn't really owe Arsenal anything. He would walk into any team in Europe and he would have had every team in Europe banging on the door as well with only a year left on his deal, which is true. But I kind of disagree in hindsight, and we did see kind of, when we didn't have these defensive options and we had the Socrates, the Mustafi and stuff like that, trigger warning. Maybe Arteta just didn't believe he was ready right now. And it's been backed up a bit like you look at 2 seasons ago, Martinelli, people were saying he needs to leave. You get your opportunity, you take it. When Arteta walked in the door, and it weren't his first official game as Arsenal manager, but if you remember Goodison Park, Smith Rowe started. He said, no, go out on loan and prove yourself. So it's a timing thing with Mikel. João Cancelo links won't go away. Me personally, I believe he goes to Barcelona, but to humor you lot, the English club, Arsenal, is still interested and asks the player for time to sign. I think he just wants to try a new experience, go to Barcelona, wonderful club, new league, Xavi, all of that. Respectfully, as much as I think Arteta is doing great things and Arsenal is exciting at the moment, City's the pinnacle. Obviously, he zanged himself and wasn't part of the treble, but you've won everything that the British game has to offer you. You've been at Pep Guardiola. Again, why would you want to sign for another team that isn't City, having been there? Obviously, you've seen some players go against that logic, but I just feel like 29 years of age, if I was João Cancelo, I'd want to go to Barcelona, which Barcelona are a long way off Real Madrid injuries or not. They're not where they used to be. Whether they have the finances to do it, who knows? But according to the Daily Mail, the London club has confirmed to the player that it wants to take him, but asks for more time to board some exits. People, Man City prefer to sell Cancelo abroad, as this article is saying, and apparently Mendes has told Barcelona that it's a formality that he'll sign for the club. People, once again, we're reviving our interest in that regards. We probably could front up more cash than Barcelona, but it seems like there's more of a willingness from the player to go over there. We'll have to see. And we have been linked with João Cancelo all summer, as some of you lot know. They kind of went quiet with Timber signing for the club, and unfortunately with Timber facing a lengthy layoff now, some say 4 months, some say 7 months, could be less, could be more. You can see the Laporte, the Cancelo links, the Kyle Walker-Peters, the Timothy Cassandre, these kind of links rear their heads again, people. So we'll have to see what's going on. Keeping up the themes with fullbacks, or specifically left backs, one left back that regardless could be out the door, and it's not Kieran Tierney. Fabrizio Romano has said Nottingham Forest have submitted a formal proposal to sign Nuno Tavares on a permanent deal. Forest are also trying top signing his new fullback, as negotiations are still ongoing also on the player side. A bit like when we played Monaco in pre-season and we heard we was talking about Balogun then. Surely with us playing Nottingham Forest in the game that's just gone, I don't know if their sporting directors or decision makers were there, but surely they could have liaised while the game was going on with their counterparts in Edu and Garlic and things to get this done. If we can make an upgrade on our 8 million that we spent on Nuno Tavares and put a sell-on clause, keep it moving. You have heard he wants to stay in the Premier League, he has actually been linked with West Ham and Nottingham Forest, has been linked with a couple of clubs in France and obviously Germany with the Bundesliga. So we're going to have to see exactly what's being said there. Again, keeping up the theme with fullbacks, Newcastle and Arsenal are in contact over the transfer of Kieran Tierney. The Gunners want a permanent sale instead of a loan, which is what the Magpies would prefer. And apparently they're close to getting Lewis Hall on a season-long loan and hijacking Crystal Palace for the left-back from Chelsea. There's talk that Cucurella is more advanced than Arsenal. But for me, Tierney would be the best of the lot. He obviously joins an exciting project. Newcastle in the Champions League, signing great players. Eddie Howe's a great gaffer. Fantastic support club for supporters to support. Lovely atmosphere. Obviously, Scotland is more or less round the corner from Newcastle, so there's the family aspect of Tierney, and he's more likely to play as a traditional fullback, or even if he is going to be converted into an inverted fullback, which seems to be the theme of a lot of Premier League teams, he'll get a platform to play that at Newcastle. Where at Arsenal, obviously, once was former first choice, once was spoken about as being a captain, signed a new deal a few years ago until 2026. Stock has fallen. And where you look at fullbacks at Arsenal, arguably, he's only probably ahead of Nuno Tavares in the pecking order. Kirill will probably get the nod ahead of him, in my opinion. Tomiyasu is clearly ahead of him. Zinchenko's ahead of him. Unfortunately, Timber's injured, but you'd imagine Timber's ahead of him in the pecking order. As much as I want to keep Tierney, and I think he's a good option to have in the squad, he's far too good to be in the situation he's at. And sometimes these things happen, people. Let me know your thoughts. Romano has said the Arsenal left back continues to attract speculation, but at the moment, Newcastle, for FFP reasons, are not offering a permanent deal. There's just interest, but nothing else. Sociedad also remain interested in Tierney. You have heard Sociedad are interested, but you've heard talk of a loan. The same goes for Newcastle. He was once linked with Man City. Don't know where that's gone. Didn't believe that. And he has been linked with Aston Villa. Whether Emre and them guys over there are gonna, get it sorted, I don't know, people. But we'll have to monitor that closely. Real Madrid have been linked with our centre half Gabriel following Militao's injury. One Brazilian left centre back out, one could be in. Gabriel's always linked with the Paris Saint-Germains and Real Madrids of this world. Testament to the 25-year-old, who I do think in some sections of Arsenal fans, where we look at our defenders, for all his positives and his faults, is underappreciated. It was Saudi Arabia yesterday, it was Real Madrid today. I mean, if you make Arsenal an offer they can't refuse, then everyone's got an offer, but I don't think we have anything to worry about. I say that subjectively, people. Apparently Monaco are linked to going back in for Balogun, and they're willing to get closer to Balogun's valuation that Arsenal have set. They had a £35 million bid rejected last week. The Daily Mail says Monaco will return with a new bid potentially today, which was actually on the 16th of August, which is today. And apparently Edu and his Monaco counterpart Thiago Scuro have maintained contact, seeking a compromise over the fee. Some reports say both of them actually have a good relationship with each other. Once again, Raya plays for Arsenal. No one cares what Rio Ferdinand has to say about Arsenal. Arsenal are now ready to offload Balogun, says journalist Rudy Galletti. People, we've heard this before, and this isn't anything new, but allegedly said other Premier League clubs have been asking for information about Balogun, but he is keen to sign for Inter Milan and play for Inter Milan in the Champions League. The journalist said new developments are for sure expected in the next few days, and Arsenal would like to sell Balogun this summer because he's not in Arteta's plans. There's a high chance that with little game time, his value may decrease in the next month, and that's why Arsenal don't want to miss out on a potentially important sell. You'd imagine him, Tierney, they'd bring significant money in because for one reason or another, I'm sure they would like to loan out Balogun and let their asset appreciate, or give him time to show he can play in Arteta's team. And obviously Tierney be kept for game management and man management and squad depth purposes, but they're likely to bring in significant fees, with the Cedrics, the Lokongas, the Tavareses, the Nicholas Pepes, the Rob Holdings, the Runnison. I don't need to spell it out to you why them things there look to be a myth, people. So that appears to be everything. Let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed. Please smash the like button and comment when this video premieres, and also in the comment section after. It helps the algorithm, it helps the platform grow. Appreciative of everybody who's listened. Like, comment, subscribe, check out the playlist and the other content. But for now, people, I'm out.
There's always just that active red flag defending. I think it's like